in the Super Bowl, you might say the two go hand in hand. So with the big game only a few days away, we thought we'd take a look at a few beers that will help elevate your Super Bowl party. Guy McClelland is a certified beer knight, and he's here with some choice brews. And speaking of Super Bowl and hardware, you've got some around your neck. What's that?
Just a second on this. This is my symbol of knighthood in Belgium, and it dates back to a Brewers Guild that dates back to 4th century. And they take their beer industry very seriously there, so they recognize individuals around the world from time to time who help them out.
And you're one of them. Congrats on that.
I'm one of them.
That's very neat. Okay, let's talk about the beers that you brought today, because we're starting from light, right? More pale, and then we'll get on to the darker.
Yeah, so I think a premise here for Super Bowl is cut above.
Yeah.
Right? So it's about tasting specialty styles, in this case from Europe. We've got some nice food matches for some of these beers here. The beautiful thing about beer and food matching is that it's harder to make a mistake than make a hit, if I could say that.
Yeah.
Because beer is very versatile, and even more so than wine in food matching. And really in history in Europe, beer goes with gastronomy. That's really where it comes from, and we've kind of lost that in North America, I think. So the food items we've got here are from the Beer Markt. So Michael Cipollone, the chef there, whipped a few things up for us on short notice just to decorate the table and give some pairings. I'm not going to talk about each beer individually, but what these beers are collectively are representations of key beer producing regions in Europe. They're big on tradition, up to 1,000 years of history, and they're big on purity, because that's what beer always used to be. And that's what's exciting, I think, bringing to Canada and sharing with your guests at Super Bowl.
I have to tell you, though, Guy, when I look at the beer and I look at the colors of the beer, and particularly this one here and the one to the right of it, I think, wow, that's not the color I would usually associate with beer.
I pre-poured a few just to show. These are very different tastes, and we in North America have been accustomed to beer being pretty much one taste.
That's right.
And not everyone likes that one taste. And the point is really there is a lot of variety. And I'm going to pour a very special one from Germany. This happens to be a Bavarian Purity Law wheat beer. So the malt is wheat, the beer is pure. It's fermented a second time in the bottle, so there is no pasteurization. There is only the original natural 4 ingredients of beer. And I want to get the sediments off the bottom that are very rich in B vitamins, which are anti-aging for skin and hair.
So beer can be healthy.
Well, I'm 93 years old. It's working for me.
It obviously, and I have to admit, I'm admiring the pour there. That's pretty darn good.
A little health tip or myth buster, as we were mentioning, is you want to get the gas out of a beer when you pour it. So number one, you always want to use a glass. Number two, you always want to get the gas out, because in natural fermentation, you get 2.5 volumes of CO2 in a sealed bottle. And what that means is what it sounds like. If you drink that, you're putting 2.5 bottles of gas in your stomach and 1 bottle of liquid, basically. So especially with females who are smaller than average guys, that gives it the reputation of being filling and bloaty and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's not really. It's just never been poured right. 93% of Canadians use the bottle sometimes.
I want to talk more about the pairings if we can, because I'm looking at the various things that you have here. You know, like the sliders, and we've got the gherkins and the pretzels and schnitzel and that kind of thing. What kind of beers are we talking about when you'd say pair something with this portion over here?
There's 3 rules of beer and food pairing. They call them cut, contrast, and complement. Over in Belgium, they really emphasize complement. So the best single rule to remember is that you match up lighter intensity beers with lighter intensity foods. And although I don't have any fish on the table today, or salads, or desserts, the idea would be, we suggested the Früli with the pork wings, as they call them, pork wings, that has a sort of blackberry spicy sauce on it. The worst sampler, well, of course, that goes great with German beer. So we would suggest a wheat beer, so a little bit more flavor than, say, the strawberry wheat. This is pure wheat. It's going to have a bit more beer flavor, a bit more beer intensity. It will match up really nice with German-style sausage, for example. And then we have here charcuterie, basically, of assorted meats. And we've suggested Palm Amber Ale would be a really nice match with that. Again, ale versus, top fermented, and a little bit more robust, a little bit more flavor to stand up to that meat. And on the far end, we've got some fairly rich burger sliders there, and I would highly recommend something like an Abbey beer, such as Affligem from Belgium, which would really stand up to the taste intensity. So we emphasize complementary. But again, with beer, it's about experimentation. It's not hoity-toity. There's no right and wrong answers. Really, you decide what works for you. And so we got Fruity we poured, Erdinger we poured. I want to talk a second about Stiegl. Stiegl is the classic lager. That's the favorite style of beer in the world and in North America.
Yeah.
And beautiful Stiegl from Salzburg, Austria, 500-year-old family brewery. Makes pure beer, 4-ingredient beer, Bavarian purity law, so 100% barley malt. Modern beers have a lot of different things in the malt that save cost and cut taste. We recommend the real thing, and that's kind of what our premise is from Europe and matching them up with foods. So
Learned a whole lot
this would
today
be
about
a
beer.
cut above, always out of a glass, and it's about maybe less is better. Maybe, you know, yeah. So.
Okay. Guy, thank
It's
you
not
so
about
much.
24.
It's not about 24. And Bev's looking at me going, come on, Mars, try one. I'll do so
Want to taste something light?
during the commercial break. We're back after this.